Logitech just announced their new Astro A50 Gen 5 headset at Logiplay. Go to logi.gg/Datto to learn more about it and to get a discount on Logitech stuff with code Datto10 at checkout. Hunters, I don't know about y'all, but eventually I do get a little tired of all the punching. Yes, Caliban liars, or even just liar's handshake in general. For me anyway, it does get a little old after a little while. Today, I would like to talk about a variant of this build that uses threaded spike instead. This build does require a specific exotic class item in Syntheseps and Caliban. Obviously, as a hunter, you cannot get syntho on their own, but I guess you could use something like Caliban and Verity for the GPG potential, or Caliban Coyote to get multiple dodges to refresh your melee. However, syntho is just really nice to make your melee hit as hard as possible, since ideally we want to be one-shotting these enemies to make them explode. If you find yourself in a playstyle that doesn't have Syntheseps activating that frequently, then you might want to just straight up replace it with one of those other perks, or maybe just play with a different build in general. Full disclosure, before we continue the video, I don't have this class item. I have tried, and I've tried, but the game has not given it to me. So I've asked my friends for some clips for me to use, since they keep rubbing this build in my face, telling me to make a video about it, and I'm paranoid about logging onto other people's accounts to get footage. Aspects. We have 3 different aspects that could play well together: GPG, Gunpowder Gamble, Winter Shroud, and Stylish Executioner. GPG is kind of in its own category. You don't need it for the core of what makes this build work. It just happens to make a lot of sense to run it because of the nature of how you proc GPG, which is through partially ability kills. Stylish does make some amount of sense because Threaded Spike severs targets, which is a debuff, and then you could weaken them with a follow-up Threaded Spike. Winter Shroud plays with Stylish, as we know, to debuff everything in a radius around you. The clips featured in this video use Winter's Shroud and GPG. The reason I would maybe stay away from Stylish Executioner is because if you want to trigger the weaken effect on Stylish, you would need to throw your spike and have it hit enough things to fully replenish, or you would need to dodge near an enemy and then quickly throw it again within a pretty short period of time. Is this impossible? No. Is it common? Maybe not. Plus, it might create this perfection complex where you'd maybe feel obligated to use the build in its most ideal state on every single throw and only go for perfect setups. And that's just not very healthy gameplay. Winter Shroud, on the other hand, actively feeds us more class ability energy, which indirectly feeds us melee energy, and we want to be close to enemies anyway to trigger Syntheseps, and we get an extra fragment slot. Ascension just doesn't make that much sense here, and Threaded Spectre doesn't really do that much either, so we're gonna ignore them for now. Our grenade is gonna be grapple, because grapple melees trigger Calibans, and that's fun. Fragments. Oh boy. There are so many ways to spec this that I don't even really feel comfortable declaring a set-in-stone combination for this. First off, Dawn seems like a staple, but for lower end, even some mid-tier stuff, you could probably live without it, especially if there's something in the artifact that can help you get Radiant. Although, of course, if you need anti-barrier, then you might want to take Dawn. The build being run in the clips uses the following: Ruin, Honor, Protection, Devotion, Blessing, and Bravery. Bravery is absolutely something I think you can flex out of the build if you want. Yes, you're going to be doing a lot of melee kills, but if you're not running a strand weapon, then it's completely useless. You could rotate in Sacrifice instead if you wanted to. Then we have some more self-explanatory ones. Ruin, self-explanatory. Your explosions are bigger, that's good. Protection, self-explanatory. We are going to be near other enemies a lot. We want damage resistance. And Blessing, self-explanatory. Melee final blows start health regen. And we don't really have restoration in this kit at all, besides maybe a boot mod. So this is a nice but not as powerful backup to having restoration. Honor is based on elemental pickups and tangles, giving transcendence energy. Now, as I tend to suggest, you should take fragments that you need to fit your current kit. If you're not having problems with one type of Transcendence energy, swap it for a different fragment that helps with the energy that you're struggling with, or something else that you want in your kit. It is that simple. An example would be swapping out this with Sacrifice or Grace, depending on the weapons that you're using. Maybe you're using Kvastov, you want Grace. We have Devotion in here as well, making a lot of light energy. Honor is making dark energy, mostly because of the tangles. So, we're balanced there. Are you struggling to get class ability energy? Throw in Hope. You'll probably have some kind of elemental buff at some point with how much stuff is available to us, basically guaranteed if you're running Ruin. Balance is another thing to consider. You're probably going to be doing both kinds of rapid killing, ignitions for light and spikes for dark. Again, also depends on your primary weapon of choice, perhaps stacking this and a weapon with Pugilist to really ramp up your melee energy gains is something more up your alley. Now when it comes to the artifact, look, this current artifact rotates out in like 3 weeks, so if you're watching this in episode 2 or later, this artifact is useless to you. Until episode 2, take stuff that's gonna help with the build. Solar Fulmination, Radiant Orbs, Transference, things like that. Pretty straightforward. Anything that links up with Transcendence or Solar, stuff like that. In episode 2 or later, anything Strand or Solar related are gonna be things to look out for. Stats-wise, the closer you can get to maxed out resilience, strength, and discipline, the better. If you can only get 2, then make it resilience and strength. All 3 is great, with as much left over going into recovery or mobility. Armor mod-wise, we are stacking as much melee stuff as possible. Hands-on in the head, heavy-handed in the gloves, resistances in the chest, energy restoration in boots, and then even more of that in your class item, powerful attraction as well. This build is pretty simple. Throw Threaded Spike at the weakest enemy to try to one-shot them, and then watch everything explode. This is also the first time that I feel like hunters actually want to build and play for Transcendence in the same way that Titans and most Warlock builds do. This is because of the boosted regen on your melee, meaning you can continue to just chuck spikes at everything while your grenade can be stuck to bigger targets to wear them down. Gameplay outside of Transcendence should be spent trying to get back to that state, but also allows for a mix of gun, melee, and GPG-based gameplay without having to worry about spamming abilities in a certain order or super often. You can just activate things as they come off cooldown, but it's not super urgent if you don't hit all of your buttons immediately. In low and some mid-tier content, you'll be crushing enemy waves, probably without even needing Syntheseps to be procced. Worst case scenario, you can just shoot an enemy a little bit and then finish them off with a threaded spike. In higher tier content, I'm talking legendary campaign missions and harder, the gameplay is more or less the same, but you'll want to take advantage of triggering Syntheseps a bit more since enemies are a little bit tankier. You'll also need to be much more selective and precise about which enemies to throw your spike at initially, since not everything is going to die in one hit. As you see in this Lost sector, this isn't really a spammy build. There is a decent amount of time between abilities and spike throws, so precision is key, at least outside of Transcendence. As the difficulty of your activities increases, the need for precision increases as well. Going into Grandmaster territory, even the easiest of GMs like Devil's Lair will still have threats, and you don't have the infinite ability spam of other builds in your neutral state, nor the infinite heal spam of Combination Blow to bail you out all of the time. The more intimate you are with the activity that you're doing, the better you're going to be able to execute on this build, because you're going to know what targets are spawning where and which are the most susceptible to attack. And when in doubt, transcend it out. Remember that you still want to be transcendent as often as possible, and when you're not, your goal is to constantly work towards your next activation. Not a revolutionary concept, I know, but it's still one to keep in mind, especially as a hunter who typically haven't had to care as much about Transcendence compared to the other two classes. I'm really hoping to get the class item needed for this build soon because, like I said at the beginning, I'm a bit tired of the Liar's Handshake punch life, and I'm also really tired of my friends rubbing this build in my face, so I hope I can get it soon. I know the Liar's Handshake build is a very, very strong build, but sometimes you just want to switch it up a little bit, which is what this build is trying to accomplish. Let me know how you feel about this setup, your success stories running it, and all that kind of stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.